Welcome to our 30th webinar. Crazy to say that. This webinar topic is connectivity to build livable cities for all. And we're going to be hearing from Antonieta, maybe Duvan, Carlos Agudelo, and Carlos Sabugal on local labs. And then from Eric Butler and Carol Hardy and Kat De Rivera on the connectivity benefits framework. So whenever you're ready, Antonieta, you can take it away.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was in mute. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but it's not in.
Yes.
It's not present. The presentation is not up yet. There. Good.
Good. Oh.
No. You had it for a minute there, and now you're back to the.
Now, can you see?
Yes, but we can just see your script, not your presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if you hit slideshow, try that.
Mm-hmm. Oops. Now, right?
You just have to hit presenter mode, I believe. Now we can see the PowerPoint or slide window. We just maybe.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry, but I need the other. I can't do this. I'm sorry. Can I give you the link? Do you think can you put it? Not really, right?
We can do that. It might be a little hard to follow along specifically, but it was working. Are you not able to share it that way? It worked for a minute.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Seems technology is not our friend today.
Okay, I need a moment. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
We can take a couple minutes.
Do you want me to try sharing, Antonieta? Good morning, everybody.
Hello, yes. Yes, please. Do you have the link?
Yes, I shared it. Is there?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Duvan. So, okay, we can start right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over to the right, Duvan. Hit slideshow.
Perfect.
Super. Well, good morning, everyone. I am Antonieta Peregrina, and with Duvan, we are part of RegNet. And I'm a master in urban planning and sustainability and climate change. I'm Mexican, and I am activist and passionate about the recovery of rivers in systematic regeneration of watersheds of Mexico and of all the world. So thank you for this invitation to share the thematic working group strategy that I am part. And next, please. First of all, I will begin talking about the RegNet network. RegNet is a recycling the series, rethinking the transformation of cities, currently compromises more than 60 organizations from 27 different countries, born with the purpose of finding the collaboration of key stakeholders in the rethinking the transformation of cities for sustainable transition to more resilient socio and ecological systems. So we emerged in 2014 in the framework of the 7th World Urban Forum, and in Colombia, aim to create, maintain, spread, and reinforce a network system for the development and transference of socio-technical innovation to reduce the impact of cities' urbanizations. So next. Well, we are part of, for sure, of the NATURA network, and as a thematic working group, we investigate the complexity of urban informality to develop appropriate mechanisms for the implementation of nature-based solutions as a contribution to promote resilient futures in response to global change. Next one. So the local labs, RegNet and Ecosocial, the chair of sustainability, develops a laboratory strategy for the thematic group based on the definition of urban research spaces and calls for ideas for transformation. With 3 pillars, we work with knowledge, implementation, and governance. The local laboratories are designed to concrete research and implementation efforts in specific areas of urban conflicts that demand the implementation of NBS. On the other hand, innovation labs are convinced as research missions launched widely to involve academics and professionals in order to develop innovative solutions to challenges of the nature-based solutions. I don't know, next one. I don't know, Duban. Well, this is our experience in Bogota, in the belt of poverty of Bogota, specifically in San Cristobal, Usme, Ciudad Bolívar. We had experienced the last year, but we are working in alliance with Arraigo and with the Universidad La Salle of Bogota. And this is part of that we are working in Bogota. I don't know if you can put play, please. I think the sound is not working.
Okay. Give me a second.
Duvan, can you click the, way before you share, optimize for video?
Okay. I will try to run it again. It's now working?
It's working, but it's not complete the screen. Well, it's complete, but
It's like the audio settings are not working, right?
There's
Maybe
no sound.
I
Yvonne,
really
you
don't
may
know.
have to reshare your screen, and when you click on the share screen, there's a checkbox at the bottom that says share audio also.
Okay. So.
First unshare and then share again.
Okay, now, okay, I got it. I got it. Okay. It's okay?
Yes, thank you.
Desde pavimentaciones y en adelante, o sea, desde las cosas físicas, o sea, nosotros no tenemos una calle pavimentada, tenemos un solo colegio para todo el sector y estamos hablando de más de 20 barrios.
En el caso de esos laboratorios, vamos a hacer explícitos los problemas, vamos a darlos a conocer, vamos a hacer como una especie de parlante de la comunidad hacia el exterior, que puede ser entornos académicos o institucionales.
Es todo el interesado que quiera apostarle a esto, no llega a los territorios, no
seleccionar 3 puntos de trabajo, un recorrido en el que en una fase inicial la intención es básicamente conocerlos, caracterizarlos, diagnosticarlos un poco en línea de dar a conocer la experiencia y en ese sentido poder convocar a futuro a diferentes actores o otras organizaciones que también estén trabajando en estos temas en otros territorios.
Uno como habitante y como persona que vive en un territorio, lo importante es tratar de vivir en convivencia e influir para que pues, de una u otra forma, socialmente, comunitariamente, se logren objetivos comunes como es tratar de conservar los espacios, pero difícilmente es cuando las entidades del gobierno hacen trabajos alrededor de las quebradas y no vinculan a la comunidad. Y cuando no vinculan a la comunidad en los procesos, no se van a ver los resultados y hay deterioro como el que ha venido sucediendo en este momento, que hay contaminación. Estos bolitos los traen de Mariela.
Yo tengo el orgullo de que me consideren la mamá de las huertas, porque de aquí se han generado otras. ¿Cuál es la ventaja de esta huerta? Que apoya con semillas y plantas a otras huertas, incluso con trabajo. Yo considero que cabe, de pronto algunas personas que tuvieron que reubicar y que no les pagaron bien su casita, en eso se afectaron, claro, pero realmente el Transmicable ha mejorado la vida de algunas personas porque han podido poner su negocio, vienen mucho más turistas. Las instituciones ya no eran de escritorio, ya los funcionarios venían a interactuar con la comunidad.
Mi labor se ha centrado en la Quebrada Limas, en manifestaciones organizacionales, entre esas pues la red agroecológica y la red cultural Manitas. Hacemos como un estado del arte, por así decirlo, de las organizaciones y de los procesos organizativos culturales que confluyen alrededor de la Quebrada Limas.
Entonces, ¿qué pienso yo o qué es mi sueño al futuro? Que esto se vuelvan corredores ambientales.
La Huerta del Palmar, que es la donde trabajo, donde dedico mi tiempo, nació hace más o menos 10 o 11 años. Era un botadero de escombros, de basura, de perros muertos. Otro problema que tenemos en el barrio es las personas que tienen que ir de arrendamiento. Entonces, a nosotros como vecinos del sector de esto nos afecta y nos duele.
A pocos metros, a 100, a 200 metros, vemos zonas no mitigables, zonas que deben de salir de ella de ahí, y a 100 metros encontramos que se pueden hacer edificios de 30 pisos.
Los laboratorios locales de informalidad y resiliencia o local labs son una estrategia de aproximación al territorio del grupo de trabajo en informalidad e innovación para futuros resilientes de la red global NATURA. La organización RegNet ha conseguido el respaldo del Centro de Cooperación para el Desarrollo de la Universidad Politécnica de Cataluña para implementar esta estrategia en el caso de Bogotá con el respaldo de la Universidad de La Salle y la plataforma de población afectada por riesgo y reasentamiento de Bogotá, Arraigo.
Okay, I'm pleased to say hello. I'm broadcasting from Colombia. My name is Leonel Lopez. I'm from RegNet and leading for NATURA, the thematic working group on urban informality and innovation for resilient futures. Basically, this working group has the purpose to articulate and concentrate the efforts of research and implementation in a specific sites of the city. And we start this initiative with the city of Bogotá, like implementing the different methodologies in order to engage practitioners, engage local communities and community members and local governments and institutions in order to concentrate efforts and experiment like the methodologies for introduce innovations and in particular introduce nature-based solutions in the context of informality. This is like the strategy that we have to approach the different sites where we have been working initially in Bogotá, and our initiative, really, our intention is to expand this effort to different sites in different cities of the global south. We have been like producing a lot of material regarding the experience of Bogotá. We have been like participating in the Future Cities podcast, for example, the Future Cities podcast. We have been like producing material in publishing blogs. We have been producing materials, audiovisual material, and we have all this available for the knowledge community of NATURA. And we now the next step is to reproduce this kind of approach to different sites of and different cities. And our intention in particular is to reproduce this in the case of Tijuana in Mexico. And that kind of challenge is what we want to expose today to the public and to the NATURA Executive Committee, because it's the challenge that we envision in order to have like different cases and different contexts of informality, not only in Colombia, but outside, in order to advance in the comparison of the cases, the similarities and differences, and refining that way the methodologies that we are using in the working group. So Antonieta, it's your time to present how you are intending to land these methodologies and this strategy of the local labs into the context of Tijuana.
Sure. I don't know if you can share the screen again, please. Well, as I say before, I'm Mexican and I am working in the thematic working group from Barcelona, but now I'm in Mexico, and I would like to share with you the story of this initiative, of the Tijuana River. And well, as we know, historically, great cities have been established near a water source, be it a seafront, a river, or a lake. Tijuana is not exception. Tijuana's origin and development is deeply linked to the existence of the border and the Tijuana River. So the first human settlements were established just south of the border and next to the river, the later becoming the spinal column of the fast growing city. You can see, if the technology allows us.
So we didn't.
No, it's okay. Today it's like lazy technology.
I don't know, because I closed the video and then it closed everything.
No, it's okay.
Like I am not used to Zoom, sorry.
Yeah, no, I start only introducing the Tijuana River, and maybe we can go to the slide with the image of the watershed. And well, Tijuana River in its basin have suffered from the accelerate and in most cases urban informality process of Tijuana, finding itself today at a very critical situation. This is our initiative, our brand. And this is the watershed, the basin. As you know, we shared this watershed, one part of Mexico and the other part is in US, and ends in the estuarian of Imperial Beach in the Pacific Ocean. Almost there. And well, yes, as I said, okay, super. That is our basin shared with US. Next one, please. And yes, as I said, we have a very critical situation that is synonymous of environmental, urban, and social degradation, generating binational conflicts due to pollution in the Tijuana River, and therefore the Pacific Ocean, as well as a public health issues on both sides of the border. Next one. You can see the river experience was taken away from the people. This is the river today with poverty. Next one. With poverty, with a gray infrastructure, with a lot of garbage, and with a lot of problems that we have in terms of the river and the identity to understand the river and the ecosystem of this land. So next one. That is why 2 years ago, we have been working in bringing about this citizen driving initiative formed by the partnerships of institutions, nonprofit organizations, and people to share a common journey to bring a new life to our Tijuana River. So an important number of these stakeholders have great experience, and the objective is to articulate the aligned efforts, resources, and knowledge under a big umbrella, so we can broaden impacts, maximize benefits, and become the guardians of these visions. So we are currently in the process of continuing to generating alliances with the stakeholders from different backgrounds on both sides of the border, and preparing an action plan with short, medium, and long-term goals. Next one. So that restore the river, generate open spaces, connect the city, build community, and create value, because we really think that the river brings us together. No, the river can be the key to connect in bioregional more than, you know, more than this border. We can develop a really transition of the region. Next one. So other cities are making enormous efforts to transform their rivers with very good results. So we think we can also make it possible and become an international reference of binational cooperation. So this common vision for the Tijuana River, at the next. This common vision of the Tijuana River and its watershed calls for a change paradigm, no, that will allow us to transition from gray infrastructure to nature-based solutions, not only on the river itself, but throughout the urban landscape, because that is where the problems begin. So it is through systematic acupuncture in urban design that we will be able to tackle these challenges. So these images were made by my partner, Sergio Soto, trying to communicate the potential we have as a city and to inspire us to reimagine the regenerated river through the nature-based solution. So this is part of the river, well, the street that calls river Tijuana River. So this is trying to inspire and to do a lobbying with the authorities to understand how can we be in a transition for nature-based solutions. The next one. This is the part of the great infrastructure, and we are doing, you know, this inception to try to understand how the nature-based solutions can help us. The next one. And this is this can be, you know, the dream, the shared dream. And that's all. That is why, that is how we are working together and trying to install a local lab in Tijuana and in alliance with another universities and with other NGOs working on this project. Next, I think is the last one. Yes.
Thank you, Antonieta. And well, please let us know any comment or any contribution.
Yes, thank you so much. Just go ahead and speak up if you have any questions. I see
Yeah.
Nancy.
Yeah, that's really fantastic, Antonieta. I'm very excited about that. Who are the communities that you hope to involve in the local labs in the Tijuana River? And if I was wondering also if there's any representation across the border, because in my experience, you know, when we think about informality in the United States, we're really talking about people who are experiencing homelessness more than often when we talk about that. So I was just wondering if you can say a little bit about the communities that you're hoping to work with.
Yes, well, since 2 years ago, we start to this initiative. So we have an NGO now, a formal NGO, and we are working. We did a manifest that a lot of NGO signed. So we are working with the University of the UCSD as the San Diego State.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have in both sides in the Colegio of COLEF, it calls, is the Colegio of la Frontera Norte, and the University of Iberoamericana, and the UABC, the University of the State of Baja California. And in the other side, we have our researchers in both sides. So we have
That's great.
alliances, and we are developing, we are trying to do different things for the next year, but we are trying to do a platform, working in the connection with the International Boundary and Water Commission that calls the SILA, no? Also to do it in a formal way. So that is, yeah, our alliances. We are more than 60 organizations, and in both sides.
Fantastic, thank you. I think Sabrina has a question, yeah?
I pretty much had the same question. I was just many years ago. So there's a state agency in California, the Southern California Wetlands Recovery Project. And we had started to, it's sort of a partnership with a state agency, the California Coastal Conservancy, had started to reach out to folks in Baja to kind of talk about the Tijuana River watershed as a whole, which, as I'm sure you know, but others on the call may not, reaches into southern San Diego County. But yeah, I was going to ask about UCSD and SDSU. The only thing I would add is there was a group in Imperial Beach, a small community NGO who was also involved. And again, Imperial Beach is the sort of the southernmost town in the US side
Yes.
of that watershed. So
we are working with the estuarian of the river. The estuarian is a park, a national park of yeah, or some kind of that part of that network of parks, of national parks of US. And yeah, and we have an alliance with Wild Coast. Wild Coast is another NGO, very propositive and working a lot with the pollution of the river, and in a lot of places. And we are doing alliances, and yeah, we are trying to find how can we push a different actions in a local way. But yeah, in Imperial Beach, we talk, in fact, with San Diego County and with us with some senator the last year. So yeah, we are doing lobbying all the time. So yeah, now we will like to put everything in a platform, in an online platform, to visualize everything, all the work of everybody, as in a common vision, to understand more who, in the watershed, to understand how can we do more alliances. And in the part of Mexico, of Tijuana, we have a contact with UCSD and with some projects that they have in Barranca de Escorpión and La Laureles, that are part of micro watersheds, micro basins very close to the border. So yeah, we have now this connection, and they are working in the watershed from a lot of years. So we're trying to put everything together.
And any other questions?
Hi, Antonieta. So
Hi.
I
Hello.
have a question. Thank
Yes.
you. How the methodology of the project that you present contribute to sustainable transformation from this bottom-up perspective?
Well, the methodology, we are trying to develop a mechanism of governance of water, because it's not only, it's a binational watershed, And we have a lot of authorities trying to put, you know, policies and running works there, but it's not easy because it's a binational watershed. So the methodology, we are trying to install a mechanism of governance of a water diplomacy and of the world that many countries use this kind of methodology. But in terms of the urban informality, we are trying to do alliances with the universities too, to try to put it in this field of urban informality, because we have a lot of irregular settlements. So we are trying to understand how it works, and to try put these acupuncture points in all the watershed.
I would like to add to the methodologies that we are using that the local labs itself is like trying to build a process to approach the sites where we work, and we are centering a knowledge dialogue methodology that comes to take advantage of the tacit knowledge of the people in the site, and generating spaces for tacit and expert interaction across the sites in a building vision process, in order to have as an outcome of our support to the sites a common vision as a result of the process. And this common vision, I think, is becoming a very interesting outcome for the communities to advocate local institutions, and this work is accomplished in joint forces with the local universities. So we are also doing like a community of learning between different international and local universities. And this is like part of all what we are developing around the local laboratories of informality and innovation for resilient futures in the working group.
And it is about time for us to move on. I really appreciate it, Antonieta and Duvan. Thank you so much for filling in the midst of our technological glitches today. We're going to move on to Eric's presentation, and he will be giving a short introduction, and then I'll share the video from my screen and cross my fingers and hope that it goes smoothly. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and apologize for using more time and the technological issues.
That's okay. My video is relatively short, so it's a little after 6 in the morning here, so I decided to pre-record our presentation. It's hard to get everyone put together, but my name is Eric Butler. I'm presenting some research that I worked on collaboratively while I was doing my master's study at Portland State University. I'm currently working as a restoration ecologist for a watershed a little ways north of Tijuana, so we're up in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. I think that's about all I've got.
All right, I'll start sharing. All right, is this showing up for everyone? I'm going to stop my video, so hopefully I'll get better connection.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Eric Butler. On behalf of my co-authors, I'm here to present on 2 papers on the topic of connectivity and ecosystem services. The first part of today's talk is introducing a set of foundational ideas we explored and developed in a paper published last year in Landscape Ecology. A good place to start is with a question. What is connectivity? There have been many answers offered over the years, but ours is intentionally very broad and inclusive. Connectivity is the coherency of landscape components and processes across space. This is an explicitly geographical concept, which means that it occurs across many scales and dimensions. We also emphasize that it includes humans and the built environment, which has not often been considered in the literature to date. Connectivity is typically discussed in the context of fragmentation, and the two are closely related concepts, but they're not quite opposites, as we discuss further in the paper. Connectivity is important because many critical landscape processes, biodiversity, the sustainability of natural resources, the resilience of ecosystems, and human health and well-being are all impacted, often negatively, by anthropogenic landscape change. These impacts are very often inequitable, with the greatest effects on society's most disadvantaged and vulnerable populations. Equity is a key theme of our research, so I want to be sure to emphasize this point. It is also important to note that planning processes, often conducted in an ad hoc, piecemeal fashion, rarely take ecological connectivity into consideration, leading to much environmental degradation that could easily be prevented with a little bit of spatial systems thinking. It was an effort to remedy this issue in the Portland, Oregon metropolitan area that was the original impetus for this research. In order to make the case for incorporating connectivity into land management and planning, we used the Ecosystem Services Framework popularized by the UN's Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, with the 4 familiar categories of provisioning, regulating, cultural, and supporting services. We conducted a far-reaching literature review for research that made the link between connectivity and ecosystem services not always in those terms. This required an integrative, multidisciplinary approach spanning the pure and applied natural and social sciences. From this foundation, we came to propose 4 categories of connectivity: landscape, habitat, geophysical, and ecosocial. Landscape connectivity is the perceived spatial proximity or continuity of related landscape elements. It can be either deductive, as with model outputs, as with CircuitScape, as you can see here, or it can be inductive, as with plans and designs, but it only represents a hypothesis. And any functional connectivity or related ecosystem services must be validated with real-world data to be meaningful. Its origins are in geographic information science and in disciplines such as engineering, landscape architecture, and urban planning. Habitat connectivity is likely the most familiar concept to most ecologists. It is the ability of organisms and/or their genes to move among populations and habitats. It is usually species-specific, but can be considered with caveats for communities or functional guilds. Its origins are in biogeography, natural history, and population ecology. It is measured either by directly tracking the movement of organisms or inferred through population genetics. It supports ecosystem services related to general biodiversity and the values of particular species. Geophysical connectivity is the permeability or resistance of the landscape to the flows of matter and energy. It includes both connected processes, as with, for example, stream flow, and connections between the landscape features that regulate those processes, as with, for example, floodplains. Its origins are in physical geography and the geosciences, and can be measured using a wide array of direct or indirect methods. It is particularly relevant to regulating and supporting services. Ecosocial connectivity is a term we have introduced to fill a conceptual gap in the connectivity literature. We found examples in disciplines ranging from sociology to education to public health, but there was little common language for these ideas, and they were rarely discussed in terms of connectivity. Therefore, we define ecosocial connectivity as how landscape structure facilitates human access to nature and ecosystem services. While some passive approaches, such as trail counts, can help measure ecosocial connectivity, it is best studied through human-centered methods, such as surveys and participatory research. These four categories of connectivity are not mutually exclusive, of course. There are many cases where they overlap and interact, potentially producing synergistic or conflicting outcomes. A forested stream corridor with a trail through an urban landscape, for instance, provides closely related habitat and geophysical connectivities, but the presence of the trail can increase ecosocial connectivity for human visitors while potentially deterring wildlife use. Next, I'll present a framework for incorporating these ideas into planning. Our focus here is urban, but this can be used in any inhabited landscape. This is the subject of our second paper, which was published earlier this year in Ecology and Society. While developing our ideas around connectivity, we observed that many planning and ecosystem service assessment tools lack any way to incorporate explicitly spatial considerations, such as connectivity. The concept of ecosystem services has come in for some well-deserved critique as well, as monetary values assigned to utilitarian functions can be culturally inappropriate or lead to commercial exploitation of public goods. Furthermore, expertise-driven tools and capital-based values are not well suited to advancing social equity. We opted instead to build our planning framework around Lydia Olander's concept of benefit relevant indicators, or BRIs, which are a format that allows communities to determine their own values. We also added risk-relevant indicators to allow consideration of the potential risks and trade-offs. To test this framework, we looked at a number of planning documents from both government agencies and grassroots community groups, and used 10 which explicitly or implicitly included connectivity to develop our model. A real-world scenario would obviously also incorporate stakeholder participation. Several local urban planning and natural resources practitioners reviewed our framework and gave us crucial feedback. The Connectivity Benefits Framework, or CBF, that we developed is a fundamentally collaborative approach involving researchers, practitioners, and community stakeholders as co-equal partners in setting connectivity priorities and planning. The CBF has 5 steps. First, participants fill the rows of a planning matrix with planning goals and related actions related to connectivity. Second, the columns are populated with connectivity features and functions. In step 3, connectivity causal chains, which I will present in the next slide, are used to generate values, which are used to populate the matrix in step 4. Finally, the model results are evaluated, and the process repeats as plans are revised. This is a brief overview of the framework. I unfortunately don't have time for a full demonstration, but I wrote a computer application as a Jupyter Notebook document that allows you to try it yourself sometime. There's a link provided in the supplementary materials in our paper. BRIs are built on causal chains in which actions lead to changes in function, which in turn can produce multiple changes in services and corresponding effects on societal values. For our model, we use importance rankings on a 1 to 5 scale for each change in societal value, and we rank the net values. But this is essentially arbitrary, and you can use whatever valuation scheme makes the most sense for your context. This is, of course, an iterative process. Plans and model results will ideally inform each other until some sort of consensus is reached. And if long-term adaptive management is a goal, this can potentially be an open-ended process. This is an example of what Leonel Lopez calls the modeling spiral, in which learning and application continually feed into each other. With that, I am at time. I would like to thank all of my co-authors, the several urban planning practitioners who reviewed and tested the CBF, numerous conversation participants at the 2019 Urban Ecology Research Symposium, and the Regional Habitat Connectivity Working Group, or RICWIG, for sending us what they expected to be an easy assignment, and for supporting us as it grew into something vastly larger and more sophisticated. I can now take any questions you might have.
And if you have any questions for Eric, you can speak up or raise your hand. We'll be monitoring that.
Eric?
Hey, Peregrina.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
A bit better. Still recovering from the flu, but anyway. I was wondering, given that you're working in the Pacific Northwest, where salmon fit in with some of your thoughts about connectivity, and if you also connected, again, I'm always thinking like watershed wide on things, if you connected with any Native American tribes on any of this work.
We didn't as part of this research. We're actually developing some tribal collaborations through my current job, but salmon were definitely something that was pretty significantly in our mind. So a little bit of background, RICWIG is developing some regional connectivity models and a whole set of circuitscape data, and using several different conservation priority species, and salmon are one of them. But I mean, a lot of what we talked about is, think about stream habitat and riparian habitat, and the interactions between streams and the surrounding environments for habitat, for geophysical, and for ecosocial processes, because salmon are also a very important cultural resource, as you suggest. And so ecosocial connectivity, good example that has access to fishing.
Yeah, I was just thinking about some of the recent successes in terms of dam removal as well.
Yeah,
so thinking about sort of the upstream, downstream connectivity that salmon are a good umbrella species for.
Yeah, we definitely cited a couple of some of the literature on dam removal in their paper. I mean, salmon are kind of the big thing that provides most of my paycheck right now, so I'm definitely very focused on them.
Eric, I like the framework you developed, or actually the first part of your talk was about the sort of distinguishing among different kinds of connectivity. And I guess what I'm taking from the short presentation is that, you know, given that your planning process or framework is really about considering simultaneously all of those different elements of connectivity, would that be fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so does the process that you outlined allow you to look at those trade-offs, for example, between geophysical connectivity and social, ecosocial, as you call it, connectivity?
Exactly. That's what the BRIs and the causal chains are about. It's really about being able to compare lots of values against each other and seeing where things add together, seeing where things conflict with each other, and that kind of ends up reflecting what the final score for that particular goal and for that particular action ends up being.
Okay.
And so that way, kind of the way the matrix works is you end up kind of brainstorming a whole series of potential actions you could do. So the example we did was about a light rail expansion of the measure area, and so we did a case where you can look at a bunch of different features that could be added as part of this process, whether it's things like wildlife crossings or wetland restoration, things like that. That way you kind of run each of these through this this BRI process and see how they kind of fall out in the end. What that gives you a chance to prioritize how you spend your resources.
Super. Thank you. Very interesting.
Thanks, Eric, for the presentation. I was wondering, you mentioned at the end that you got some feedback from stakeholders and practitioners. I was wondering just what kind of feedback they gave you and how you were able to incorporate that.
Honestly, there's a lot of testing of the model and refining. We kind of sent it out to a lot of people who might actually be using this as part of their work and got a lot of feedback. In fact, one of them ended up being a co-author in the second paper because she really put a lot of work in helping us develop and refine the model. So it's just a lot of trying things out and saying, hey, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Have you considered this instead? And help us refine terms and processes and really come up with a much better product in the end.
Thank you.
And we are at time. I want to thank Antonieta and her group and Eric for presenting. Thank you so much. And thank you all for bearing with us. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And we'll be following up with any materials from this webinar. We'll send those out.
Thanks, everyone. Great to see you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Bye.
Bye.